All right, guys, so the border crisis is set to get worse. Yes, that's right. It is set to get worse as it is expected that 400,000, right? Up to 400,000 migrants could show up to the border this month. Again, that is a record number, right? A record number for what we've seen under the Biden administration, almost doubling what we've seen over the last few months in terms of people attempting to come into the country, right? Now, this is a big deal politically for Biden because it's really a no-win situation. He's getting criticized from the left and the right on this issue. And I want to talk about that politics a little bit more here in detail as the Trump era provision, Title 42, that has been used to basically expel migrants more quickly due to the pandemic, is up in the air, right? Is up in the air, right? In the judicial system. So that is going to be key for Biden to actually have some semblance of a border, just in case this record number of migrants actually show up. But just to give you guys more background into what's going on here, I want you guys to watch this clip from NBC News regarding the migrants that are supposed to be coming this month.
After those dramatic scenes at that crowded migrant camp under a border bridge in Del Rio, tonight, U.S. officials telling NBC News the Biden administration is preparing for an even more massive surge in October. Up to 400,000 migrants crossing the border, which would be a record, nearly doubling the stunning numbers we've seen the last 2 months, which were a 21-year high. The new surge likely, officials say, because of a court order due to start tomorrow lifting a COVID restriction known as Title 42, which had allowed officials to quickly deport most asylum seekers during the pandemic. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas saying keeping Title 42 is critical.
That is an authority that the Centers for Disease Control has determined to still be necessary given where we are in the arc of the pandemic.
In Del Rio, border authorities were taken by surprise by a surge of mostly Haitian migrants who came from South America. 5,000 were deported back to Haiti, but the administration released most into the U.S., around 13,000, asking them to report to an immigration center to start asylum hearings. Tonight, immigration advocates say it's time to end Title 42.
It's blatantly illegal under both U.S. and international law and has caused enormous harm to hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers.
Late tonight, a federal court allowing the Biden administration to keep using Title 42, at least for now, while a legal fight continues. Julia Ainsley, NBC News, Washington.
All right, guys. So as you can see there, apparently people in, these South American, Central American countries, they think it is a party in the USA, right? They think they are just going to pull up and get in, right? And hey, why not think that? Because Biden, when it came to these Haitian immigrants, right, he deported some of them, but he let a majority of them in because of a lot of pressure from the left. A lot of pressure from the left. Okay. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because it is interesting politics what's going on here. As I told you guys, he's being attacked from the right and the left. Right? The right is basically saying he's not doing enough. The left is saying he's doing too much. Okay, what's currently going on right now is that the Biden administration is trying to keep Title 42 in place so that they have the means to expel people more quickly, right? Due to the pandemic, which in my opinion, hey, I agree with. Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? And if the left claims that they're taking the pandemic as seriously as they claim it should be taken, then why are we letting people in? Right? Why are we letting people in? We should have closed borders, right? I'm sorry, the borders are closed during this pandemic. That should be the policy. However, the problem with the Biden administration is that while they are executing on some of these policies, right? While they are trying to use some of this stuff to expel people, there's just too many people coming because of the promises that he made, right, before he got into office. And the fact is that he's making stupid moves like folding to the left on high profile cases like the Haitians, in which is a prime example of people being let into this country because the left complained about it, right? Now that the left eyes are on the border, they're actually paying attention to what's going on the border, or who knows, maybe they might stop caring because these people may or may not be black, right? But now they're paying attention to it. it's going to be hard for Biden to keep using this policy because, again, to give Biden some credit here, I think it's been like 1.1 million people expelled since Trump implemented this policy, right? That have deported people under Title 42. I think 440,000 of those came from Trump. Okay, now keep in mind, not as many people were coming to the border under Trump because they knew what was going to happen. They knew they was getting sent back, right? But under Biden, it's been almost 700,000 people that he has deported under Title 42. Okay, so it's not like he's not doing it. It's just the problem is that there's an overwhelming amount of people coming, which means there's an overwhelming amount of people that's going to get in. It's just basic math, right? It's like that's how things work. Some people are going to get by, some people are not. So that's the problem with the Biden administration. If anything, his worst gaffe was literally telling people to come during this administration and then having high profile events that the left has forced him to essentially let people in his country, which literally has incentivized people to now come to the border, right? Again, it's a domino effect, right? Once you open up the floodgates, it keeps flooding. It doesn't stop. And that is what's happening with immigration. So even if Biden is doing his job to a certain extent, it doesn't matter because there's just so many people that are coming because they think they're going to get in. They think they have a chance. This is why I've criticized Biden so much on the psychological aspect of what they campaigned on, of saying the things that they said, because even if you're executing to a certain extent, you can't only do so much when you have a record number of people who are coming because of your far left rhetoric. But I done basically got into my commentary for this video already. Let's read a little bit more about what's going on here with the legalities of Title 42 and go from there. A federal appeals court in Washington ruled Thursday that the Biden administration can continue to use a Trump-era public health authority to rapidly deport migrant families apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border. The ruling puts a hold on a judge's order that the White House no longer use the COVID-19 pandemic to justify quick expulsions of families under the public health authority known as Title 42. U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan wrote in his September 16th ruling that in view of a wide availability of testing, vaccines, and other minimization resources, the court is not convinced that the transmission of COVID-19 during the border processing can't be significantly mitigated. All right, I don't agree with that, Judge. I don't agree with that, bruh. As long as we're still having mandates, right? As long as there's still some portion of this country that is shut down where American citizens can't freely express their rights and do what they want to do, then we should probably try to keep our borders as closed as possible, okay? Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Again, it's crazy to me how the left, and I don't know if this judge is a leftist judge or whatever, but it's crazy to me how, the pandemic and the seriousness of it always goes out the window when it comes to immigration. But they want to impose these mandates in the name of public health and safety for the American people, but not for people that are entering our country illegally. Again, it blows my mind the mental gymnastics that the left jumps to justify this type of policy. It doesn't make sense. The best public health policy for, the pandemic in regards to immigration is closed borders. Point blank, period. I mean, look at all these other countries that's doing it, right? Look at Australia. They ain't letting nobody in there, right? So, I mean, we can justify not letting people in. Hey, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And if anybody got anything to say about it, screw them, right? It's our country, not theirs. The appeals court's decision came hours after NBC News reported that Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas had asked top Department of Homeland Security officials whether they were prepared for up to 400,000 people to try to enter the U.S. in October if Sullivan's order was upheld. No, they're not prepared. No, they're not prepared. Bruh, if this order gets upheld, right? For example, if they don't have the ability to enforce this anymore, the Biden administration is done. Okay? The right is going to eviscerate Biden. Because now you're going to have 400,000. They can't hide that, right? They couldn't even hide the 15,000 at the border when it came to the Haitians. They will not be able to hide 400,000. That is going to be a scene, okay? That's going to be a scene. That number would nearly double the 213,534 migrants Customs and Border Patrol Customs and Border Protection apprehended at the frontier in July, as well as 208,887 encountered in August. Those 2 months marked the first time that more than 200,000 illegal immigrants attempted to cross into the U.S. from Mexico in consecutive months since February and March of 2000. The NBC report, which cited two DHS officials, added that Mariaka's inquiry was not based on intelligence or data, but merely represented a worst-case scenario. Okay, so he's trying to play kind of the scare tactic here. He's trying to say, Judge, listen, y'all got to rule in our favor, because if you don't, we got a record number of people coming. We got 400,000 people, almost 500,000 people coming, right? That's what he's saying in a nutshell, okay? But who knows? I mean, I believe it. After Biden let in all those Haitians, that basically was a sign that open borders, right? In terms of perception. People going to take a chance, bro. If they think there's a chance, they're going to take a chance. That's why rhetoric is so important, right? In the Biden administration, no matter how hard they try, they can't walk away from their rhetoric. They can't walk away from the original sin of telling people to come during the primaries last year. They can't walk away from it. They can't. Matter of fact, they should be out here right now telling people not to come, to turn around, right? Do not come. Turn around. That's what they should be doing. They should be saying that literally every day. That's what you should be saying. U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan ruled September 16 that the White House can no longer use the COVID-19 pandemic to justify quick deportations of families under the public health order known as Title 42. Sullivan wrote in his ruling that the view of the White House. Okay, we already read that. The Biden administration has appealed a ruling which is set to go into effect at some point Thursday. The report emerged one day after Panama's foreign minister warned in an interview that up to 60,000 migrants, many of Haitian origin, are passing through Central American country bound for the U.S. The report also followed a humanitarian crisis at Del Rio, Texas, with thousands of migrants gathered under a bridge after wading across the Rio Grande. DHS did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Yeah, this is a bad situation for Biden. This is bad. 400,000 people estimated. 60,000 Haitians potentially. Bruh. He can't deport them. He couldn't do it politically when it was only 13,000 of them, right? He couldn't do it. Now, if you got 60,000 of them plus 340,000 other people, right, that may look black enough that people might care, right? The left might care. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Especially if he does not have Title 42 available. Whew. Boy, this is a bad situation for the Biden administration. This is a bad situation, right? My fear is that they may just give up, right? They may just give up and fold to the far left and just let people in, especially if they don't have Title 42. That's my fear, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.